Okay, we're going to go ahead and make a primitive blade or primitive knife. This particular design is a Hoko design knife. It's about a 2,700-year-old design for hafting a stone flake into a split piece of sapling or wood. And again, it's just using just a raw flake, nothing real fancy, no real fancy flint knapping or anything like that. You're just getting a flake from a spall or from whatever you're flint knapping with, and using that flake. These flakes themselves are quite formidable, as you can probably possibly see. They're really sharp, and they do work. This works just like a charm. This is a piece of obsidian that's hafted with some elm bark, and this is a piece of chert that's is a smaller dimension, smaller size. It's hafted with some twisted cattail cordage, and this is another piece of chert, different size, different length of blade, that's hafted with cattail cordage. So really, what you need is you're going to need a piece of wood, sapling, something like that. And I mean, the size is just based on the scale you want it. Like I said, there's some that are really small. You can find them really small, or you can make them really small depending on what you want to use them for, or you can make them pretty big. And so we're going to make a medium-sized one today. And next you'll need some cordage. And here I just have a piece of stinging nettle that's just dried up. We're just going to work this so that it becomes pliable for us to use. And then you're going to need a blade, stone blade. And I've got a variety of different stone flakes here that I've got. These are very sharp. Just kind of pick through them. These are pieces of chert and very thin, deadly pieces of obsidian. And I've got a couple of pieces here I want to show you. I've got this really nice piece of obsidian. You can see how translucent it is, really how thin it is. Just razor sharp this is. This is a big flake that I knocked off of a ball of obsidian, and it's still got the bulb of percussion on it. It just kind of spooned out, but I thought it was an interesting shape, and you know, this just illustrates how dangerous flint knapping can be, and how formidable just a flake like this can be. You know, this flake alone, you could skin pretty much anything with this. And then there's another flake here that I actually like to use just in general purposes. You can see it's got a very big bulb of percussion at the end here, and it's pretty flat, and it just feels really good in the hand for different type of work. So you don't really need to have a lot of flint knapping skill, or even flint knap into a particular shape or anything, because you get some pretty interesting shapes like this one, and they're quite utilitarian. As you can see, there's quite an edge on this one. I'm probably going to half this and make this into a Hoko as well. I think make a pretty cool shape just for display. So we're going to use this flake here. It's a relatively smaller flake, and what we're going to do is going to go ahead and first we're going to start off with taking our stone tool or another cutting implement, and we're going to go ahead and actually protect my cattail mat here. Put it down a little cutting mat, but go ahead and find an area to just begin to cut on here. And again, I'm using a stone tool, and all I have to do is just kind of a braid in, and this is cutting it just fine. Just take your time and cut through this, and you'll go ahead and, you know, that's stuck in there pretty good. but this is not the finished piece. So what I'm going to do is, for the sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and cheat, and I'm going to go ahead and just begin a slit here, begin a cut with my tool, my modern tool. There you go, just to split it down the middle. And then I'm going to carefully pull this apart. Okay, we got this pretty much split. It's not perfect, you know, it's kind of veered off on me a little bit, but that's okay. I just want to kind of give you a quick demo on how to do this. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be functional. Okay, so this is basically where we're going to our starting point is. And we're going to take our blade, haft this into between our two sticks here like so, and just wrap it around. Okay, so what I'm going to do is we need some cordage, and let me see here. The back of this edge is sharp. Alright, this is something we want to keep mindful of because this is it's gonna aid in how we're gonna wrap this up. And I have an abrading tool here, and I go ahead and I can take my braiding tool and just kind of dull this up a bit. Just kind of braid this down. We don't want that end to be sharp. It'll cut our cordage. When you're doing this type of work, it's best to have some sort of glasses on. Gloves would help for safety as well. Okay. Yeah, it's pretty dull. It's just dull enough for demo purposes. Okay. So this is something to keep in mind, mindful of. The back side, if this is the blade side here, the back side should be relatively dull, if not square or flat. So next what we're going to do is we're going to take our cordage here. This is stinging nettle, and the fibers are inside. It's dry now, and it's just a matter of working this so we can get the fibers out. Another good way to do that is just to put it between your hands and spin it. That breaks up the bark, or the outer bark, and brings out the fibers. Makes it more pliable to work with, but it's very strong. It's a very, very strong fiber. Works pretty good. Okay. And depending on where you live, it's readily available. People have patches of it in their backyards, I understand. So it shouldn't be too hard. It's an edible plant. It provides good cordage. It's also a medicinal plant, especially if you have allergies or asthma. And usually, when you get stung by it, the very tops of the plant, you can smash up between your fingertips and use the juices of the top of the plant and rub it on where you got stung, and it usually neutralizes itself. So I'm going to go ahead and work this kind of pliable. I'm going to wet my fingers a bit, make it even more pliable and wet. So we got our cordage all kind of ready to go. Okay. And really a quick and dirty way to do this is I'm going to put my my sticks together, and I'm going to, oops, I want it this way. I want to leave enough at the tip for an anchor. Okay, I'm going to find out where I'm going to start, which will be right about here where my finger and my thumb and index finger are at. And I go ahead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert my cordage between the split, like so, all the way down to my thumb here. And I can go ahead, keeping them together, and begin to wrap tightly, like so. Okay. And what you find is that a lot of times you can insert your stone tool, be careful not to slice your fingers, and so like that, and it'll want to grip it, it'll want to hold. And then on the back side, this is the reason why you won't want this too sharp. Okay, and I'm going to set this down a little bit. Is you're going to run this along the back. Okay, I'm going to set this down a little bit more because this is pretty still sharp. So run this along the back like so. Okay, and then to the front. and then I'm going to begin my wrap. Okay, you can pinch this together pretty good and get a good wrap on it. A couple of times is good. And then you can end it there, okay, and tie it off and insert it in here into the in between the split like that, okay, and then it would be a finished piece. It'd be a serviceable piece. Or you can be a little bit more crafty, and I'm just going to do one wrap. I'm going to make sure this is really tight, cinched on here real tight. Wrap that good like that, and then bring it back so it's an X on the back. Okay, that's just this extra, little extra, I don't know, panache to bring it all together. And then I'm just wrapping the remaining cordage here, and I can slide the remaining cordage kind of in between the slit to tie it off. And then again, for a real aesthetically pleasing piece, you can go ahead and take another blade and cut off extra straggling hairs. This is real rustic. Again, paracord would work. Regular old store-bought string would work. Any sort of cordage would work. As you saw, I use elm bark for one of them that I've made. There we go. Yeah. So yeah, and then a lot of times people can take sinew, or excuse me, not sinew. Sinew would work as well, but what I meant to say is you can take pine sap or pitch and really lock this down, but that would kind of defeat the purpose. The idea is to make this so that the blade you can replace, because eventually the blade will get dull. But for the most part, there you have it, and that's essentially the design. Okay, and let's see, I've got a piece of wood here. You can see I can start cutting. Okay, so let's see if I wanted to put a notch in here. Gives me a little extra leverage. There you pretty much have it. So you start to cut into and shape and whittle, and the blade is still pretty secure in there. It's not going anywhere. It's not going to bust out the back, and it doesn't pull out very easily to the front. So this is a Hoko design. Real simple bladed tool that you can make. What you're doing is you're just hafting it into a split of wood, and it just gives you extra leverage, extra reach, extra extra dexterity, and this is pretty cool. So feel free to give it a try if you have the opportunity to get a hold of some flakes. But again, like I said, be careful not to cut yourself, and have fun.